First up, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has promised to start sending asylum seekers to Rwanda from July as the UK Parliament passed the Rwanda Asylum Bill. Rishi Sunak said the government had booked commercial charter planes and trained staff to take migrants to Rwanda, a policy he hopes will boost his Conservative Party's flagging fortunes before an election later this year.
The success of this deterrent doesn't rest on one flight alone. It rests on the relentless, continual process of successfully and permanently removing people to Rwanda with a regular rhythm of multiple flights every month over the summer and beyond until the boats are stopped.
Now, under the policy formulated 2 years ago and agreed with Rwanda, any asylum seeker who arrives illegally in Britain will be sent to Rwanda under a scheme the government says will deter channel crossings and smash the people smugglers' business model. The legislation is expected to receive royal assent from King Charles later this week and then become law. Let's find out more about this. DD India's Ollie Barrett's with us from London, live to tell us more about it. Ollie, good afternoon. First of all, could you explain to our viewers what the passage of this bill means for asylum seekers looking for refuge in the UK from persecution in different parts of the world, and how many people are likely to be affected?
In terms of how many people are likely to be affected, let's deal with that first. We only really have that assertion from the Prime Minister that he wants to see a regular rhythm of flights every single month. So you would expect that that will be in the dozens or the hundreds of people per month if the government can get flights up into the air. So it clearly won't deal with all of the asylum seekers in the UK who, from the government's perspective, have come to this country illegally. What the government says about those asylum seekers who have come here via illegal routes is that removing them to Rwanda, or as many of them as possible to Rwanda, will act as a deterrent to try and stop people, particularly making those dangerous crossings across the English Channel from France, across those dangerous waters. We've just seen an incident unfolding in the last few hours in which several people are known to have died making that journey. The UK government believes it will act as a deterrent to stop those crossings, or stop many of those crossings. And it also says that for asylum seekers that do have a genuine case around persecution or the fears around their life in various parts of the world, that there are legal routes open to those people to make applications for asylum in the UK. So critics of the government say, well, actually there aren't enough legal routes for asylum seekers to make those claims, and that's part of the reason that this scheme is so controversial. But the main thrust of this, as I say, is to try and stop those small boat crossings across the English Channel, which so often end in tragedy.
All right. And is Rishi Sunak going to be able to implement the bill as easily as he's making it sound? What about its legal and political implications?
That is the absolutely key question now. We've been hearing as recently as in the last couple of hours since the passage of this bill through Parliament from the UK government's illegal migration minister, and he says it's inevitable, in his words, that there will be legal challenges from individual migrants, from groups of migrants, from rights organisations and campaign groups acting on their behalf to try and stop some or all of these flights. Now, the new Rwanda legislation has been constructed in a way by the UK government which is designed to avoid as many legal challenges as possible being able to be successful. So the UK certainly feels that in some way it has future-proofed this legislation to avoid it getting bogged down too often in the courts. But when it comes to the timeline, that's part of the reason that the Prime Minister is saying 10 to 12 weeks to see the flights in the air. What will happen in the coming days is that some asylum seekers will be identified as candidates to go on a flight to Rwanda and be deported in that way. They will be detained ahead of that flight, and the government's it's expecting that some of them will launch legal challenges that it hopes to be able to deal with in time to get flights in the air to Rwanda in 10 to 12 weeks. But given that the government has to call an election really at some point this year, or at least by January, then it's very, very difficult indeed to see how many flights the government will be able to get in the air to be able to point to this policy potentially as successful before a general election might be held.
If I could just ask you one more question in terms of the preparedness in Rwanda itself about receiving these asylum seekers if they are deported or sent to Rwanda, not exactly deported, or sent to Rwanda. How are things going to be there? Are they going to be up to a certain standard that has been maintained perhaps in the UK?
Yes, so there have been various inspections. The Rwandan government insists that it is ready to get this process underway. Bear in mind, they've had 2 years to prepare, given all of the delays in the UK's parliament. One element of this deal is the financial payments that the UK is going to be making. It's contributing hundreds of millions of dollars to an economic development fund for Rwanda, but it will also contribute per migrant, around $180,000, we think, per migrant. That goes to funding things like accommodation, education, medical bills, to make sure that these asylum seekers do see facilities that are fit for purpose when they arrive in Rwanda. Now, there have been some claims recently that perhaps Rwanda doesn't have enough capacity for the amount of migrants that the UK would like to send on these flights, but Rwanda and the UK insist that Kigali and London are both ready.
Okay, well, we'll see how long how long does it take to first implement this plan, and for how long can it be sustained, because that again is a question for the future, and that again is something that is quite likely to get mired in courts. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Ollie Barrett. Now, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak will be visiting Poland on Tuesday, where he is set to unveil a new military support for Ukraine of nearly $617 million. Sunak's visit to Poland to meet Prime Minister Donald Tusk is his first international trip for months. Ahead of his visit to Poland, Sunak in a statement said the package will help ensure Ukraine has what it needs to take the fight to Russia. He warned Russia must be defeated to prevent its troops from pressing further into Europe. Now, Britain has long been a vocal supporter of Ukraine, and the additional funding will take London's total military aid for this financial year to £3 billion, just days after the US House of Representatives approved a $60 billion package. The US Senate is set to vote on Tuesday for a massive $95 billion aid package in military assistance to Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan. The much-awaited bill, passed by the US House of Representatives on the 20th of this month, allocates around $61 billion to Ukraine, $26 billion to Israel and $8 billion to the Asia-Pacific region, including Taiwan. After it passes through the Senate, the bill will land on President Joe Biden's desk for his signature. Meanwhile, a delegation of US representatives visited Kyiv on Monday to tout support for Ukraine. The visit comes following the passage of the $95 billion legislative package providing security assistance to Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan. Both Republican and Democratic representatives spoke to the media and paid their respects at the memory wall of fallen defenders of Ukraine after meeting President Volodymyr Zelensky.
As we discussed with the President, U.S. assistance in Ukraine is in good hands. I am confident that with the stringent oversight and accountability measures in place to ensure that our aid is not subject to fraud, corruption, or diversion, and once on the battlefield, we know that U.S.-provided weapons will be put to good use.
The bipartisan spirit we have here is an indication we can get the job done. But I always have felt that the support for Ukraine was there, it was strong. It was really just working its way through a Congress that is having difficulty even sometimes getting its own budget on time.
And as far as the conflict is concerned, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked US President Joe Biden for his support and leadership in a telephonic conversation on Monday. Biden told his Ukrainian counterpart that the United States will provide significant new security assistance to meet Ukraine's needs as soon as the Senate passes an aid bill and he signs it into law. During the conversation, Zelensky also told Biden about Russian air terror threw thousands of missiles, drones and bombs and noted a strike on a television tower in Ukraine's second largest city of Kharkiv, which took place minutes before their conversation. And later in his nightly video address, Zelensky said the legislation, still to be approved by the US Senate and signed by Joe Biden, clarified that Ukraine would be receiving the long-range army tactical missile systems it has long sought. Now, the first criminal hush money trial of former American President Donald Trump began on Monday. The prosecutors plan to prove that Trump falsified business records, allegedly as part of a scheme to suppress negative stories about him during the 2016 presidential campaign. On Tuesday, the judge is set to review prosecutors' request to fine Trump for breaching a gag order that prevents him from talking publicly about certain people involved in the case. While a guilty verdict wouldn't prevent Trump from assuming office, it could negatively impact his candidacy. And DD India's correspondent William Denslow has more detailed updates from New York on this ongoing trial.
Entering the courthouse on Monday, Donald Trump once again railed against this case and this trial that he faces. He has described it as election interference, all in an effort to hurt his chances of regaining the White House come November. Monday saw opening statements in this trial. We heard from prosecutor Matthew Colangelo, who alleges that Donald Trump committed election fraud, pure and simple. The prosecution have painted a narrative that Donald Trump sought to dampen potentially politically damaging stories from making it public in the lead up to the 2016 election. The prosecution alleged that a reason why he used a fixer to pay the porn star Stormy Daniels $130,000 as a hush money payment was to make it as hard as possible for that payment to be traced. We heard from Todd Blanche, the defense lawyer representing Donald Trump, during opening statements that said that the prosecution laid out a neat narrative. However, he said it simply wasn't true. He went on to argue that Donald Trump committed no crimes. He even said that any efforts to try and influence an election, there is nothing wrong with that. He said simply that is what democracy is. We've also had the first witness take the stand during this trial. That is David Pecker, who owned the firm that controls the National Enquirer. That's a media organisation accused of catching and killing potentially politically harmful stories about Donald Trump in the lead up to the 2016 elections. He's expected back on the witness stand Tuesday. We're also expecting a hearing on Tuesday about Donald Trump's gag order that prosecutors allege he has been violating. They say such violations could result in fines or even up to 30 days behind bars. Judge Juan Machan put that gag order in place in an effort to stop Donald Trump from potentially attacking witnesses during this trial. Donald Trump says it is unconstitutional and has called for that gag order to be dropped. William Denslow in New York reporting for DD India.
And we'll be reporting on this as the trial goes on. For the moment, moving on, the United States Supreme Court on Monday confronted the nation's homelessness crisis. The Supreme Court wrestled with major questions about the growing issue of homelessness, as it considered whether cities can punish people for sleeping outside when shelter space is lacking. The justices heard arguments in an appeal that enforcing these anti-camping ordinances against homeless people violates the U.S. Constitution's 8th Amendment prohibition on cruel and unusual punishments. It's the most significant case before the High Court in decades on the issue and comes as record number of people are without a permanent place to live in the United States. The case started in Oregon's Grants Pass, which began fining people $295 for sleeping outside as the cost of housing escalated. According to U.S. government estimates, on any given night in the U.S., more than 600,000 people are homeless, sleeping in the streets. And still to come up on DD India News Hour. North Korea holds first nuclear trigger drills as US and South set for cost-sharing talks. South Korea court hears children's climate change case against the government. And Bangladesh reels under heat waves sweeping the nation.
Deep poll pulse has reached here in Bangalore, Bangalore, the capital of the down south pole-bound Karnataka.
National elections are more worried about national security.
The right person, if you vote, it will take your country in a right direction.
Voting is very important because the only rights we have.
It is a straight contest between the two arch rivals, the ruling dispensation Congress party and the principal opposition BJP.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. The United States has accused Hamas of changing its demands in the ceasefire and hostage release negotiations with Israel amid escalating tensions between Iran and Israel. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that Hamas is more interested in a full-scale regional war than a peace agreement. The talks are being mediated by Qatar and Egypt. Over 250 people were taken hostage when Hamas attacked Israel on the 7th of October last year. Nearly 130 of them still remain in captivity in Gaza.
That's the reason the Secretary made the comments he did on Friday when he spoke to this at the meeting of the G7 foreign ministers is what you have seen over the past few weeks is Hamas move the goalposts. There are demands that they have made. Israel has moved some way to meeting those demands, and Hamas has then changed their demands. And so it certainly does seem like Hamas is more interested in a full-scale regional war.
And families of Israeli hostages of the Be'eri kibbutz gathered at the Hostages Square in Tel Aviv on Monday to attend a Seder in support of those held captive in Gaza by Hamas since the 7th of October last year. Kibbutz Be'eri community was one of the main targets. Many who joined the Seder dinner said they could not fully celebrate freedom this year. Passover, starting on Monday evening, is traditionally observed with a Seder, a holiday feast, when families gather and celebrate the biblical account of the Israelites' freedom from Egyptian slavery. Let's find out what's the latest. We're joined by DD India Sarah Coates from Tel Aviv Live. Good afternoon to you, Sarah. The US has leveled a fairly serious charge against the Hamas. What does this mean for the ongoing ceasefire talks?
Hello there, good afternoon. Well, certainly no movement as it stands on these ceasefire talks. What we are hearing, though, are reports that Qatar, which of course is one of these main mediators, is now being pushed by the United States to actually make Hamas agree to these talks, which would see these 133 Israeli captives released and also a ceasefire deal put in place. Otherwise, Qatar is being put under pressure to actually expel these Hamas leaders from the tiny Gulf nation. And this is what we've been seeing over the past few days. Ismail Haniyeh, the head of Hamas's Politburo, visiting a number of countries around the region, including Turkey and Oman, for talks. Now, there is a lot of concern, of course, here in Israel. You mentioned these demonstrations overnight as Jews marked the beginning of Passover. A lot of concern that no deal will be done to get these people out. And the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, he is just coming under immense pressure overnight. Demonstrators set fire to tables, Seder tables, outside Netanyahu's private residence in Caesarea, demanding that he do a deal now with Hamas to release these people. Now, what we have been seeing really is Hamas, as you mentioned, changing its demands at the very end of these ceasefire talks, demands which include things like increasing the amount of Palestinian prisoners that would be released in exchange for Israeli hostages, and also demanding things like men of fighting age be returned to the northern part of the Gaza Strip. So certainly all of these parties here involved in these negotiations really coming under a lot of pressure. We do need to remember that these Israeli hostages have now been held in the Strip for more than 200 days.
Yes, certainly. That is a very, very grim situation. Now, How far is the failure so far to work out a deal between Israel and Hamas likely to impact the situation on the ground and the expanding theatre of conflict, and also the political situation in Israel itself?
Well, certainly what we could expect to see over the coming days, over the coming weeks, are plans, preparations being put in place for this Israeli operation down into that southern Gazan city of Rafah. Associated Press has actually released some pictures after identifying and looking at them, analysing them themselves, of tent cities being prepared just west of Khan Yunis. Now, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he has been adamant that there will be an Israeli incursion into that southern city of Rafah, where some more than 1.3 million internally displaced people are sheltering. And this is certainly an area of grave international concern. We have been hearing from the United States. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken came out just on Friday to say that the United States simply does not support a large-scale operation down into that city, given just the sheer number of people that are sheltering there. But we've also heard the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, come out over the last couple of days saying over the Jewish holiday of Passover, what the Israeli military will do is intensify painful blows against Hamas. So certainly this is an area that we need to be very, very closely watching. And as I mentioned, grave international concern that the Israeli military may go down into that city, with the United States saying it still has not seen a plan as to how to get these people out.
All right, let's leave it there at the moment. There is very little light at the moment as far as the situation with the hostages and the ceasefire is concerned, but one can only hope that things somehow work out. Somebody has to give somewhere in order for things to work out. Thanks for joining us for the moment, Sarah. Several bakeries in Gaza City have resumed operations for the first time in 6 months with the help of the United Nations World Food Programme. The WFP said it has been using a new coordinated route to get aid to North Gaza, where it has delivered food parcels and wheat flour through convoys. More than 23 bakeries are currently operational in Gaza, providing over 3 million loaves of bread, rolls and pita every day. As the UN Security Council met on Monday, Haiti has called on the international community to act swiftly to prevent genocide in the country. Dominican Foreign Minister Roberto Alvarez Gil says that his country would continue its solidarity with Haiti, but couldn't go beyond its capacity. Haiti is preparing for the installation of a 9-member council to take over from Prime Minister Ariel Henry. Henry had pledged to step down on the 11th of March while stranded outside the country and under pressure from the United States. Meanwhile, the Haitian capital is almost completely cut off by air, sea and land as gang violence has intensified. This is stopping aid from getting to 58,000 children with the most life-threatening forms of malnutrition, warns the head of the UN Children's Agency. All 10 crew members aboard were killed as 2 Malaysian Navy helicopters collided mid-air during a parade rehearsal. The Navy will be carrying out an investigation into the cause of the accident. The 2 aircraft involved in the crash were a maritime operations helicopter and a Fennec military chopper. North Korea conducted its first drill simulating a nuclear counterattack under its nuclear trigger management system in an exercise guided by its leader Kim Jong-un. The country fired several short-range ballistic missiles towards the sea off its eastern coast. Kim oversaw the drills involving troops in nuclear counterattack positions and firing artillery with mock nuclear warheads. And the drills in North Korea took place days after US and South Korea conducted joint military exercises. Officials of the 2 countries will meet in Hawaii this week for talks on sharing the cost of keeping American troops in South Korea. The current agreement is set to expire in 2025. More than 28,000 American troops are stationed in South Korea as part of efforts to deter nuclear-armed North Korea. A group of young environmental activists in South Korea has brought a case to one of the country's highest courts, accusing the government of neglecting its duty to address climate change and protect its citizens. The public hearing of the matter began on Tuesday, and according to plaintiffs, this marks the first climate-related litigation in Asia. The petitioners include kids as well as infants. Scientists warn that exceeding a global temperature rise of 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels could lead to severe and irreversible consequences, including ice sheet melting and disruption of ocean currents. Bangladesh's meteorological department has extended the heat alert for 3 more days in the country from Monday. Bangladesh's highest temperature was recorded at 42.2 degrees Celsius in Chaudanga on Sunday. 4 people died from heat stroke in Bangladesh in the last 3 days. The heat wave conditions have forced the authorities concerned to close all schools, madrasas and colleges till the 27th of this month. Thailand also experienced an intense heat wave on Monday, with maximum temperatures ranging from 38 to 43 degrees Celsius. Following the heat wave, Thailand's Marine and Coastal Resources Department reported that 1% of the coral reefs have started bleaching. Coral reefs around Nu and Mau Islands are being monitored for possible bleaching amid rising sea temperatures. In China, rescue operations were underway as heavy rainfall in southern regions caused rivers to flood in Guangdong. Emergency supplies, including food, water and other amenities, were being provided. As of now, 41 emergency boats are in operation in the city areas that accommodate around 38,000 people who are said to be stranded. Let's now get you some more updates from around the world as well. Elon Musk criticized Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on Tuesday following a court's order for his social media platform X to remove footage of a purported terrorist incident in Sydney. Musk argued that the ruling implied any nation could govern the entire internet. While X had already restricted access to the post for Australian users, the country's e-safety commissioner insisted on their removal due to the depiction of explicit violence. A public holiday was declared in Karachi, Pakistan on Tuesday, with major highways blocked in anticipation of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi's visit. Raisi began his 3-day visit to Pakistan amid stringent security measures in Islamabad on Monday. This visit occurs as both nations aim to reconcile relations following unprecedented military actions earlier this year. Armenians are protesting against the transfer of 4 villages to Azerbaijan as agreed upon by both nations. Residents oppose the border delimitation agreements between Armenia and Azerbaijan, which were announced by the Armenian Foreign Ministry on the 19th of this month. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Election fever grips India, a sneak peek into poll pulse in the northernmost union territory of J&K. An Indian devotee celebrate Hanuman Jayanti, birth of the Hindu seaman god Hanuman. India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy, and before we go any further, another look at our top stories. Top UN officials appeal to the UK to reconsider its plan to transfer asylum seekers to Rwanda as the British Parliament passes the Rwanda Asylum Bill. New York jury hears opening arguments in the criminal hush money case against Donald Trump. Prosecutors charge him of breaking the law and corrupting the 2016 presidential race. Two Malaysian Navy helicopters collide in mid-air during a parade rehearsal, killing all 10 crew members aboard the two aircraft. Authorities say the mishap will be probed. Now let's get to the latest on the world's largest democratic election that's unfolding in India. As India is gearing up for the second phase of elections, political parties across the country have ramped up their election campaigning. Prime Minister Modi on Tuesday held a public meeting in Tonk Savai Madhopur constituency in western state of Rajasthan. Addressing the rally, the PM said the BJP has shown what a stable and honest government can do when it's in power for the last 10 years.
साथियों, एक स्थिर और ईमानदार सरकार देश के विकास के लिए क्या कुछ कर सकती है, ये पिछले 10 वर्षों में सबने देखा है। भारत आज दुनिया की सबसे तेजी से बढ़ती हुई बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था है।
Prime Minister Modi will also hold public meetings in Chhattisgarh's Janjgir and Mahasamand city later in the day. While Home Minister and senior BJP leader Amit Shah addressed a public meeting at North Bastar Kanker of Chhattisgarh. Amit Shah will hold a public meeting in the southern city of Bengaluru as well, apart from Maharashtra later in the day. Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh addressed a public gathering in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh and the eastern state of Bihar. And Uttar Pradesh's Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath addressed a public meeting in Amroha in his state. The UP Chief Minister will also hold a roadshow in the state's western city of Meerut. And Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra will hold a public meeting in the southwestern state of Karnataka. Apart from that, Congress leader Sachin Pilot will also hold an election rally in the southern state of Kerala's Alappuzha city. He will be participating in the rally in support of AICC General Secretary K.C. Venugopal, who's contesting the Lok Sabha elections. Bihar's Chief Minister and Janata Dal United Party Chief Nitish Kumar will hold a roadshow in the state's Bhagalpur city. Samajwadi Party National General Secretary Shivpal Singh Yadav and Mainpuri candidate Dimple Yadav addressed a public meeting in Uttar Pradesh's Amroha. And Bahujan Samaj Party Chief Mayawati will also address a public meeting in Uttar Pradesh. BJP leader from Jharkhand's Khunti constituency Arjun Munda is seeking a second term in office. Munda filed his nomination papers on Tuesday with a roadshow and public meeting in his constituency. Let me now take you across to two of DD India's correspondents Dibendu Mondal joining us from Purnia in Bihar. We also have Siddharth Bhardwaj joining us from the southern state of Kerala in Thiruvananthapuram. Good afternoon to both of you. Dibendu, just 2 days left to go for campaigning before the silent period begins. What's the contest like in Purnia and the second phase seats in Bihar looking like?
Well, Gautam, the Purnia seat is going to witness a three-corner fight this time around. With a key factor emerging here is the factor of Pappu Yadav, who will be contesting on an independent, as an independent candidate. We have been in the city since morning, and what we gather is that the three-corner fight, which will be witnessed in the seat of Purnia, will mostly be between the JDU-NDA alliance candidate Santosh Kushwaha versus Pappu Yadav. Remember yesterday, Tejasvi Yadav, who was addressing a rally here in Purnia, had said that if you don't want to vote for the RJD candidate here, which is Hima Bharti, vote for the NDA candidate, but not to vote for Pappu Yadav. Remember, Pappu Yadav was someone who had been a strong man, a muscle, holding immense muscle power in this region during the 1990s and the early 2000s, and was very close to Lalu Yadav, the father of Tejasvi Yadav. But the family seemed to have fallen out, after which Pappu Yadav was denied the ticket from the RJD, and he is now contesting as a single, as an independent candidate. People around this constituency say that the image of Pappu Yadav has seen a makeover over the last couple of years, and he has become the Robin Hood. But he is going to face tough resistance from the JDU candidate Santosh Kumar Kushwaha. Because in the hinterlands of this Purnia constituency, people are also favoring the NDA candidate Kushwaha, who is contesting from this particular seat. But this is going to witness a very, very tough contest, is what we pick up from here. All the three parties are making their last push. Tejasvi Yadav has been campaigning in Purnia for the last 2 days. He's also expected to hold a roadshow in a short while from now. Whereas the Bihar's Deputy Chief Minister and BJP leader Samrat Chaudhary is addressing a rally just a couple of kilometers from where I am. The LJP's Chirag Paswan has also arrived here. So, all the top leaders of Bihar are camping in this Purnia seat, because this seat is being considered as a very heavyweight seat in the Bihar politics at this moment. And of course, it will be the people of Purnia and people of Bihar that will decide who their candidate, who they would elect in this political battle. And of course, we'll come to know on the 4th of June. But this seat is going to witness a tough battle. Back to you, Gautam.
All right, just stay with me, Vendu. Let me bring in Siddharth Bhardwaj as well. Siddharth, good afternoon to you. It's a three-cornered contest in Thiruvananthapuram as well. Which party or alliance or which leader is hitting the ground the hardest before campaigning ends, and are they getting the voters' attention?
Well, a very good afternoon to you too, Gautam. I'm here in Thiruvananthapuram constituency, one of the main constituencies of Kerala, where 20 seats are up for grabs, and campaigning is going in full swing majorly from the two parties, which is the BJP and the Congress. There is no such movement from the CPI, wherein Pannai Ravindran is contesting. Majorly, the competition, the fierce battle is between two political parties. These two political parties will white out from this constituency. It looks like and they will win the heart of the voters. Rajiv Chandrasekhar is contesting from the BJP, and Shashi Tharoor is contesting from Congress. When I had a word with Shashi Tharoor yesterday, he was very confident, and he was saying that he's very confident that this time around as well he will be winning from this constituency. He's been winning since 2009, Gautam, but it looks like the BJP has found a password for the Kerala politics this time around, as they have a bright chance to open their account in this constituency. I also had a word earlier in the day with Rajiv Chandrasekhar, who's contesting for the BJP. He's saying that as he's campaigning here in this constituency, people are very influenced, they're very happy, and they want to see a new face here in this constituency, and BJP is having very bright chances. He also told about the initiatives that have been formed by the government, the initiatives by the government, including the Ujjwala Yojana, which gave women in rural areas clean cooking fuel. And this is just one initiative. He mentioned about many initiatives to the people here, and as per my assessment, as per my analysis, BJP are having very bright chances here to open their account. Whereas if I talk about Panai Ravindran, who is contesting from the CPI, he's leading when it comes to the state assembly, but when it comes to the Lok Sabha polls, LDF is not having good chances. If I talk about the results in 2019, Gautam, then UDF won 19 seats out of 20, wherein the LDF just got one. But this time around, it seems very interesting, the competition here, because the battle is triangular. BJP, CPI and Congress. Although the results will tell what's going to happen, but as per my assessment, BJP are having very bright chances to open up their account here. And there is no as such movement from the CPI when it comes to the campaigning, which will be end tomorrow evening. The campaigning right now here in Thiruvananthapuram is going in full swing.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us, both Dibendu as well as Siddharth, with the latest from these two constituencies, one in the north in Pune, Bihar, and the other in the south, Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala. More about elections. Well, about 80 kilometers from Jammu city in the northern union territory of Jammu and Kashmir is Riyasi, where the primary means of livelihood is farming. DD India's Nandana Tagar has travelled to Riyasi and filed this report.
It is election season across India, and in the northernmost union territory of J&K, the Jammu constituency, it is the season for harvest too. 80-year-old farmer Doordarshan Sharma is busy with his harvest of wheat crop. He arrived in India from Lahore at the time of partition when he was a toddler. He is content with life for the most part. He still wishes though for a perennial water supply for his crops.
These crops did not receive water. This much happened without water. If proper water is given in farming, the yield can double. Only 2 crops can be taken in a year, in the Rabi and Kharif seasons. With water, 4 crops can be taken in a year.
His 2 sons and his wife help him in the farm. His wife Tara Devi now has an LPG gas connection, but once in a while loves to cook on the earthen chulha. She makes sure that other women vote. Traditionally, they haven't voted in large numbers here, but things are changing.
I encourage everyone to vote, reminding them not to waste their vote.
It all looks idyllic with Doordarshan Sharma having tea with his wife as she cooks green vegetables for the dinner. Here in Riyasi, farmers like Doordarshan Sharma live a quiet and peaceful life. Notwithstanding that, they do face a few problems here and there when it comes to their farming. But one thing that all of them are sure of is that they have to vote on the polling day. With camera person PK in Riyasi in Jammu constituency, this is Nandita Dagar for DD India.
Let's now take you towards the east, which is Bihar, and let's take a look at this particular report as well about how people who are involved in the cultivation of foxnuts, which is called makhan in India, they are a key constituent of the seat from where we got the Dibendu Mondal, my colleague, just a short while back in Pune, Bihar.
You must have heard about makhana, which is also known as foxnuts and is trending across the world. But do you know where these makhanas are cultivated? It's in the city and town of Katihar. And if you can see behind me, these are the farmlands where the world famous foxnuts or makhanas are made, and you can see it in stores or in your drawing room. Let us look at this deep dive into the story of makhana from Bihar.
The region around Katihar and Purnia constituency in Bihar is known as the maize and the makhana bowl of India. But what goes behind the farming and making of these makhanas that you enjoy in your home is tedious labor of over 6 months.
Foxnut farming has been done here for 40 years, which results in more profit in a short period of time.
But thousands of laborers who work on these muddy ponds, they earn a meager rupees 250 to rupees 350 a day.
I will vote only for those who will benefit us. Why should we vote for those who will not provide any benefits?
The growing demand of this superfood across the world has brought in more people here.
The foxnut of this place is famous because the soil here has a very good balance. It is a 2-crop soil. It yields a large harvest. The crops are good.
After the labor of around 5 months, the crops are ready to be harvested in the monsoon season of June and July. More than 25,000 quintals of makhana are produced and exported daily during the monsoon season from Katihar alone, giving a business of 20 million rupees every day to this region.
These makhanas of Katihar that you get across the world is world famous. As we said in the beginning, but these factories are currently closed, of course, because the processing season is yet to begin. But majority of the farmers here think that it is a prospective business, and the government has helped them promote this makhana across the world. And this makhana that you see will decide the fate of the candidate that is contesting from the Katihar constituency. With camera person Jagmohan Pradhan, this is Dibyendu Model from Katihar for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Indian tennis star Rohan Bopanna is conferred with the Padma Shri. In football, Inter Milan win their 20th Serie A title.
India's southern state of Karnataka gets ready for polls in 2 phases. Congress-ruled state looks to checkmate BJP in the land of sandalwood. It's the ultimate battle of guarantees. What will resonate with the voters in battleground Karnataka? Watch the Great Indian Election at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday said his government is focusing on research, learning and innovation in a big way, a day after Quacquarelli Summit's President Nunzio Quacquarelli lauded the improved performance of Indian universities. In a tweet on social media platform X, Prime Minister Modi wrote, and I quote, "This is encouraging to see. Our government is focusing on research, learning and innovation in a big way. In the coming times, this emphasis will deepen even further, thus benefiting our Yuva Shakti." In the latest the QS World University rankings, India's universities have made significant progress. President of Quacquarelli Simons is in a post said that this year Indian universities demonstrated the highest performance improvement among all G20 nations. He further said India's higher education progress globally has undoubtedly been aided by visionary policies such as National Education Policy 2020, spearheaded by Prime Minister Modi. During a recent event held in New Delhi, Chief of Army Staff said becoming self-reliant in critical military hardware will be essential to deal with future challenges, adding security of the nation cannot be outsourced.
In our quest to achieve and sustain hard power quotient, we need to be alive to the implication of external dependency to meet our defense requirements. The impact of supply chain disruptions and weaponization of denial regimes came to the fore during the pandemic, as also from the lessons of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. These developments have underscored that the security of the nation can neither be outsourced nor be dependent on the largesse of others.
And now it's time to get you all the sporting updates with my colleague Anil Thomas, who's with me in the studio.
Thank you, Gautam, for those toss. Well, starting first up with tennis, where India's tennis star Rohan Bopanna was conferred the 4th highest civilian award, the Padma Shri, by the President Draupadi Murmu on Monday evening. Bopanna was given the award for his recent fine performance that lit the world of tennis. He, along with Australia's Matthew Ebden, won the Australian Open title. With the win, he also became the oldest Grand Slam champion. Spain's World Cup winning midfielder Aitana Bonmati was named the Sportswoman of the Year, while Serbia's Novak Djokovic captured the men's top honours at the 24th annual Laureus Awards ceremony on Monday night. Bonmati was previously cemented a place at the top of the women's world
football by winning the FIFA's Best Ballon d'Or and the World Cup Most Valuable Player, along with other accomplishments. Meanwhile, 7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady handed Djokovic his 5th award after the top-ranked tennis player enjoyed a memorable 2023. Inter Milan won their 20th Italian league title on Monday after a 2-1 win at AC Milan gave Simone side an unassailable lead in the standing. Inter had suffered only one league defeat this entire season, holding a 17-point advantage over second-place AC Milan with 5 matches still left to play. A header from Francesco Erebbi in the 18th minute was all that was needed as Inter claimed victory. Thousands of Inter Milan fans took to the streets in the heart of the city on Monday night, casting shades of blue and black against the backdrop of Milan Cathedral as they celebrated the club clinching the 20th Italian crown. Well, back home in IPL action, Yashasvi Jaiswal scored a sensational century, leading Rajasthan to a comfortable 9-wicket win against Mumbai in the ongoing IPL 2024 season on Monday night. Chasing a 180-run target, Jaiswal scored a brilliant 104 of 60 deliveries. It was Rajasthan's 7th win of the season and it extended the lead at the top of the table to 4 points. Earlier, Sandeep Sharma took his first 5-wicket haul to restrict Mumbai to 179 for 9 in the stipulated 20 overs. Tilak Verma was the top scorer for Mumbai with 65, while Nehal Wadera scored a quick-fire 49. Meanwhile, Chennai and Lucknow will face off against each other for the second time in 4 days when they take the field in Chennai tonight. Revenge will be on the minds of Chennai fans and stars as they were handed an 8-wicket thrashing by Lucknow last week. The win saw KL Rahul's side pull level on points with the reigning champions in the ongoing season of IPL. Lucknow now have 8 points from 7 games, having won 4, lost 3. Chennai, on the other hand, have the same record but a better run rate. Well, that's all from the world of sports. Back to Gautam for more updates.
Thanks a lot, Anil. And now let's get you something related to religious fervor peaking in the country, especially in terms of those who are the devotees of Lord Hanuman. Well, Hanuman Jayanti is being celebrated across India. It marks the birth of Lord Hanuman, the revered deity known for his devotion, strength and loyalty. Here's a report by DD India's Kriti Vadera.
This year, the festivities bring communities together to commemorate the auspicious occasion and reflect on the significance of Lord Hanuman's teachings. From elaborate temple ceremonies to vibrant processions, Hanuman Jayanti is observed with fervor and enthusiasm in various parts of India. Devotees gather at temples dedicated to Lord Hanuman, offering prayers, chanting hymns and participating in rituals to seek Lord Hanuman's blessings for strength, courage and protection.
This is my emotion. I emotionally connected with Lord Hanuman. I celebrate this day as a big festival. This is pleasure for us.
There are thousands of people today and I feel very positivity and I came every Tuesday and I love this temple.
I am a die-hard devotee of Lord Hanuman. I am coming to this temple for the last 20 years on every Tuesday and it changed me a lot and today is a very special day.
Beyond India's borders, the influence of Lord Hanuman extends to Southeast Asia, where he revered as a significant figure in Hindu mythology and cultural heritage. Countries like Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia and Malaysia have temples dedicated to Lord Hanuman, reflecting his enduring presence and impact in the region. From India to Southeast Asia, his teachings of courage, humility and devotion continue to inspire millions, transcending geographical boundaries and uniting diverse communities in reverence and celebration. As Hanuman Jayanti unveils across India, the celebration serves as a reminder to the enduring devotion and the cultural legacy of Lord Hanuman. With camera person Rajesh Kumar, I am Kriti Vadhera reporting from New Delhi for DD India.
And on that pious note, that's all we have for this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download the app now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks a lot for watching DD India News Hour.